Perfect. To wait for people to come on. We're going to be going over the astrology of the week, and we're going to be doing some tarot first before we talk about the astrology. Good morning! Letting people slowly trickle in. My computer's looking crazy. It got all these windows, man. I do a lot of readings. I got like charts and charts and charts open. How's everybody doing? Good morning. My gosh, my eyes like itchy. I'll be right back. We're all just waking up. Yeah, I woke up like for the second time, so it's weird. I just woke up like 45 minutes ago. I woke up super early, like at like 5 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. And then I went back to sleep and I took a nap like around 10. So, cause sit like that is too early. There's no reason why I should be waking up that early. I'll be right back while people are piling, and I'll be right back. I'm gonna get my water and wash my face really quick. My eyes are. There we go. There we go. Just have to like wipe my eyes. Oh, there's my water. My water's over here. Grand Rising. All right, let's go ahead and get the tarot cards out. We're gonna do some tarot. We're gonna tap into the energy of the week first. So we got so we got some really exciting astrology this week. This is a really important week. This week and next week, astrologically, are very important. Um, we have two big events happening this week and next week that where we're gonna see people like solidifying plans, moving forward with future plans, making commitments with like future goals, opportunities, or kind of preparing like to make a big move. Uh, Opportunities of the future solidifying this week and next week. People saying yes to something. People agreeing with on something with a partner, possibly like on a big move with a partner or something. We're gonna see a lot of this kind of forward movement because Jupiter goes direct this week and Mercury goes direct next week. And they go direct as they're trining each other. So Jupiter's at 15 and Mercury's at 14. Mercury's at 14 Pisces and Jupiter's at 15 Cancer. And so Mercury's going to go direct as he's forming a trine with Jupiter. And this like Mercury Jupiter trine, they're in a trine with each other. Yeah, well, actually Mercury goes all the way back to like 8, you know? So he's not going to be in a trine with Jupiter when he goes direct, but upon his forward movement as he moves forward, he'll be making a trine with Jupiter the beginning of April. Yeah. So around like April 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So with Mercury in a trine, retrograding in a trine with Jupiter, Jupiter going direct, and then Mercury and Jupiter hitting a trine with each other in the first like week of April, like the first few days of April, we're gonna see a lot of really cool forward movement for people. It's gonna be really awesome. I think the Mercury Jupiter direct combo as they're making a sign-based trine to each other and exact trines with each other. The first one is, I believe, like now this week, and then they're gonna make that trine with each other at the beginning of April. It's gonna be really opportunistic. It's gonna be really expansive for a lot of people. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for being here. Let me wave at everybody. We got some people trickling in still. Sunny and warm in Chicago today. It's actually kind of sunny here. It was raining yesterday, but sunny over here in Portland. All right, let me get the cards out. Let me get the cards out. All right, and we are on. Okay, cool. All right, here they are right here. All right, let's tap into the energy of this week. Let's see what's going on. This eclipse season, I'll be honest though, y'all. This eclipse season, it's been rough. It's been a rough eclipse season. Um, there's been a lot of reality checks. There's been a lot of endings, a lot of tragedy, a lot of loss, but also like people being propelled forward in ways that may be a little uncomfortable, you know? But it's kind of like things are moving forward whether we like it or not, right? Eclipses, they bring beginnings and endings very, very quickly and suddenly and rapidly sometimes, or ways that we don't plan for, right? Um, I don't know. It's like eclipses, I think, put us have us go through life defining moments, you know what I mean? And I think that's what we've been seeing for a lot of people, like people reaching the peak of a certain chapter of their life, the end of a certain chapter of their life, you know, people starting a new chapter in their life. Like that's what we see during eclipses. But usually, you know, just like tragedy and loss, you know, that surrounds eclipse energy. And that's just the way it is, you know, that's just the way it is. Things will never be the same. That's just the way it is. Oh, yeah. Changes. Isn't the name of that song? Isn't that name of that song Changes? Isn't that Changes by Tupac? Changes. Let's see. I think that the name of that song is Changes.
Parcels, our buyers hustle 24/7.
What is
Get a
going
great
on
deal.
here? I know you are not playing an ad with on my YouTube because I pay for like YouTube Premium. So I know I'm not hearing an ad. That is not okay. Okay, there we go. This is the energy of the eclipse, you know? This is like the eclipse. Hell.
Come on, come on. I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, it's like worth living, should I blast myself? I'm proud of being born, even worse.
Okay, can't play it for too long because we're gonna get banned. But it's sad. This song is hopeful, but it's sad at the same time, you know? And there's a like a certain amount of grief, you know? It's like change, yeah, but it's like sad change. And I think that's what eclipses kind of put us through, you know? They put us through change, but there's an element of like sadness or grief or with it sometimes, you know, loss, you know, stuff like that. So that's the energy that we've been kind of been in, you know what I mean? And we've been seeing people passing away. These celebrities been dropping like flies. I mean, I don't want to say it like that, but you know, I try to be a funny guy, but you can't be funny with things like that. But there's been a lot of people passing away, man. It's been crazy, you know? So, all right, well, let's pull the cards and then we'll talk about the stars. That's not the same song, Louis. Out on bail, bust out of jail, California dreaming. That's a different energy. I was like stopped. I was like stopped and got silent, and all of a sudden, out of what is it? Out on bail, bust out of jail, California dreaming came into my head. California love. Did we? Yeah, I don't know if you go online. There hasn't been any like big. I don't think maybe there's possibly some A celebrity passings this past week, but I definitely know there's some like B level, C level celebrities passing for sure. For sure. It was all up in my timeline last week. Okay, we're gonna tap into the energy of this week. Let's pull these cards. Let's see what Spirit has to say. Let's see what guidance Spirit has to give us for this week. What's going on, Spirit? Give us some guidance for this week. Let's see what we got going on. The Five of Wands was coming to me yesterday, but I don't know why. Let's see if it like shows up today. Oh, dude, did I just say the Five of Wands was coming to me? Yes, it was coming to me last. I'm telling you guys, like when I tell you that I have a relationship with Spirit that's a little funny, it's interesting. I be seeing cards, like, and then I pull them. It's a weird. It's like this is my relationship with the divine. It's my relationship with tarot. You know. Like, it's how it is. Like, sometimes when I'm, before I even do a reading for someone, I'll like see a card for them. I'll be like, oh, I'm getting the death card. I'm getting the, and then I pull it in the reading that I do for them. So we got the Five of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. And then we got the Magician in reverse. And I think, okay, let's talk about this. Okay, let me tell you why the Five of Wands was coming to me yesterday. Okay. Because what was coming to me with the Five of Wands yesterday, that like it was like last night, I was like, Five of Wands, Five of Wands, like what the fuck is this? Um, there's like conflict and frustration with others right now. And there's a lot of people that are dealing with external relationships impeding personal progress or impeding them reaching personal goals. Or like the big karmic challenge for a lot of people right now is relational conflict that's distracting them. Okay. It's taking them away from their mission. It's blocking them from like seeing the truth. It's like blocking their progress, like forward movement in their life in some type of way. Okay. And so what's important is kind of like this week, we need to choose our battles wisely, but we also need to kind of like stop fighting or stop pouring negative energy into relationships or connections that are just a distraction, like an energetic black hole or an energetic weight. I don't want to say it like that, but I don't mean to make it sound so dramatic, but it's like these connections that are just like distracting is really what it comes down to. It's like they distract you from your path. They distract you from your mission. And they're not a good influence on you, right? And this is why it's like, bad company corrupts good character. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you if you're surrounded by people that have, poverty complex, if you're surrounded by people that are very fearful or anxious, if you're surrounded by people that have a lack of peace in their life, if you're surrounded by people that are angry, they're angry at life, they're angry at themselves, or angry at their spouse, or like angry, right? That energy is not good for you. Like it takes you away from you and it's distracting because you kind of like, there's many times when people are in a moment when people are like living in a negative state, whatever that negative state is, or whatever kind of negative energetic attachment they have, or negative perspective, whatever, that does have it spills over into our life and it's kind of like a toxin, like a poison, And it's like we're not, that's not us, but we're around it all the time. We're around it every day. So it does energetically impact us. And it's distracting because a lot of us, especially those of us that are like empathic and sensitive and on the spiritual path, we want to help and be of service. Like we're empathic, we're compassionate, we want to help, right? So a lot of times, instead of like holding people accountable, people that we love, people that we're surrounded with, holding people accountable and giving them truth, we accommodate their negativity. We accommodate their negativity. We accommodate their pessimism. We accommodate their fear. We accommodate their doubt. We accommodate their toxicity. And we make space for it. We're like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm gonna create space to allow them to be toxic because I want to avoid conflict. I don't wanna fight. I don't want to argue with them. I don't want to step on their toes. I don't want to offend them. I don't want to let them know something that I really do need to let them know how to love, right? You're like, you got to work on this. I believe this is what you got going on. I think this, you got to work on these things. I'm seeing some things, I'm observing some things, and to avoid conflict, we don't address it. So we kind of tolerate and make space for that negativity and however it's showing up with them. But we take an L, and I'm gonna tell you, in some ways we take an L. It comes at a cost, it comes at a price. And it's an energetic, they become an energetic distraction, energetic liability, stuff like this, right? So I think with the Five of Wands coming out as the first card, we need to be mindful of the people that bring an element of conflict in our life, that put us into a state of conflict, that put us into a state of confusion. Another thing I'm getting is people that just don't see or understand your vision, your truth, your identity, who you are, where you're going, what you want for yourself. And they have a very rigid perspective of you, or they have a very judgmental perspective of you, or they just don't, yeah, they have some kind of it. So what I'm getting is like people that have opinions or insights that aren't in alignment with you. And like they're giving you bad advice. They're giving you bad guidance, right? They're making you feel doubtful or insecure about yourself. They're making you feel doubtful or insecure about your decision making, your choices. They're making you feel insecure, doubtful about your future, where you're going. And it's like you have to not listen to these people. I'm gonna tell you this right now. King of Swords in reverse. There's some people that just don't have the joy, they don't have the faith, they don't have the optimism, they don't have the vision, they don't have, you know, the understanding. But I don't know. It also feels like maybe there's some personal energy that they have towards you. This could also be like I don't know. This feels personal. This feels like you know, they're giving you bad advice because there may be an element of jealousy, right? They're giving you bad guidance because they're afraid of you leaving them. They don't want you to go. And this could be a parent, this could be a spouse. Oh, you know what? I don't want you to do better because if you do better, you're going to leave me or abandon me. So to keep you here, to keep you with me, I got to do all these things. I got to make you feel insecure. I got to, go into crisis and have these blowouts. I got to go ahead and stop you from progressing and moving forward in your life because if you do better, then that better might take you away from me and you can move on and be with someone better or deserve someone better. It's crazy. People do a lot of crazy things out of codependency, out of love. They're like, I love you. You can't leave me. So guess what? You're not going to go to college. So guess what? You're not going to move to another state and get a better job. So guess what? I'm not going to let you because I don't want you to leave me. I don't want you to abandon me. That's horrible. That's terrible thinking. That's not love. That's very toxic. And parents do this, partners do this, family members do this, right? We want to keep you at our level because I don't want you to be doing better than me. Friends do this, okay? But sometimes they're doing it because they're afraid of you leaving them. Like I want you to understand this. It's also important to understand like sometimes they're not doing these things because oh, I hate you or I dislike you or I don't want what's best for you or I'm jealous of you. Sometimes they're doing this because to them that's love. Like they're like, you know, I don't want this person to leave me or abandon me, you know? Or or maybe if this person gets that, they'll fail or whatever, right? People project their failures, they project their anxieties, their fears, their failures on others as well, right? So just because they can't do it in their life, they are convinced that you can't do it either. People do this all the time. They're like, oh, you know what? I failed at this, and it was a horrible experience, and I was there, and it just blah, 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 blah. And so you shouldn't do it either. But baby, maybe that wasn't their path. That wasn't their vision. And they don't have the talent, they don't have the gifts, they don't have the magic, they don't have the wherewithal, or that's just not their path. And that's fine. We got to acknowledge this because I think, we take bad advice all the time and we let other people make choices and decisions in our life that they should have no authority or power making, or we shouldn't give them any power to make. You know, we really have to learn to trust our own decision making process. And we got to learn to have faith in our own choices and decisions and our own intuition that guides us to make choice and decisions. It's one of the things like with that I have very firmly. Like I within myself, like I have my tools. Obviously I'm looking at my astrology and I'm doing tarot and I'm a spiritual guy, so I'll pray on things and ask spirit questions. But at the end of the day, I trust my intuition and I trust myself to make the best choice and decisions for me. You know what I mean? And I have that faith. And even if 10 minutes, if everyone around me is like, Louis, don't do this, and I feel this within me, like this is a very strong yes, but everyone else is telling me no, I'm going with the yes. I'm doing the yes. I'm going with whatever I feel, whatever I think. At the end of the day, that's just the way it is. But I've cultivated that faith in my own decision making process, and I trust myself to make good choices that are best for me. You know, a lot of people don't have this. A lot of people don't feel like they are the best decision maker in their own life. So they offset their decisions to others. They let their parents, they let their spouse, they let other people, their job, friends, they let other people make choices and decisions for them in their life. And that's and then they're unhappy. They're unsatisfied because what they really want to do, the choice and decisions that they really want to make, they don't have the courage and the bravery to make, right? So we have to cultivate confidence in our own vision, on our own decision making, our own choices, right? So that we don't allow the noise of others to detract us or distract us from what we want to do, from where we're going, from our passions, from our purpose, from our bigger mission, from our vision, from our dream, whatever that may be for you, you know, whatever that may be for you. It's very important, you know. Um, I gotta echo a little bit of a message from last week as well, because we got the Five of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles and the Magician card in reverse as the first three cards. And this pairing right here, it tells me that we are continuing in this week to be in a place where things are not really safe or secure. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but there was a message around like a lack of financial security, stability, safety, people's material world changing rapidly. So like we're moving, you know, letting go of a job, getting let go from a job, changing a career. The way we're making money is different. Our relationship with money is different. That's all up in the air. That's all changing. For some of us, it's like I don't know where money's coming from tomorrow, you know? So there's this energy of like a lot of frustration and anxiety and fear around resources and money right now. You know, it's like in the air. It's like a collective thing, especially here if you're here in the States. Okay. But with the magician card, right? I want you to understand like whatever's falling apart right now, whatever has left you, whatever feels unsafe around resources, money, security, whatever, it's like this is fresh ground to plant new seeds, is what Spirit is saying. Like, yeah, you know, the garden may be looking a little rough right now, okay, right? But it's like there's still fresh ground there. There's still compost. Like there's a composting process that's happening right now in many people's lives. And out of that composting process, we're going to get fertilizer that we can go ahead and plant new seeds, right? And grow something new. So, you know, a lot of times instability, you know, a lack of security, a lack of safety, or even when foundational things are in a state of movement and change, it's also about opportunity. And I want you guys, Spirit wants to remind you guys of this because we're like we're in a space right now. Eight of Swords, Ten of Wands, right? Like I pulled six cards today, and then I got the Six of Swords on the bottom of the deck, right? It's like we're in a certain place right now where there's a lot of fear and anxiety, there's a lot of paranoia, there's a lot of depression. People are just carrying a lot. Look at this, Ten of Wands. This is my burden card. You know, he's got nice thighs though. He's got a nice butt too. But anyways, this is a card of burden. And if you take a look, this person, it's like this is the card that tells me I'm trying to hold it all together. I'm trying to keep it all together. Look at this. Oh, I'm trying to hold it all together. But look at when you're trying to hold it all together, guess what? You can't see what's happening around you. You can't see into the future. You can't see what's to come. You're just trying to get by day by day. That's what the Ten of Wands is about. And this is why it's like we're carrying the Ten Wands, but we're also, you know, in the traditional Rider Waite, he's like looking down into the wands because he's like trying to focus on keeping everything together that we can't see, you know, a month out, 2 months out, 3 months out when we are in a moment of having to hold it all together, right? And if we're feeling like that, that's okay, that's fine, you know, because this is like I just got the image of someone who's like juggling mini plates, who has like, you know, two plates spinning on their hands, they got a plate on their head, they got plates on their shoulder, and like spinning or juggling everything, you know, it's like that. It's like the energy. We can only sustain that for so long, by the way. You can't carry all this weight forever. This card reminds us that everything will come crashing down if you're trying to do too much, right? Like if you're trying to carry too much, if you're taking on too much responsibility, if you're carrying too many burdens, like you put too much on your plate, right? You're gonna drop it all at some point. You're gonna kind of, and that's okay. Maybe you do need to drop it all. Maybe you need to drop something. Maybe you need to let go of a couple of these wands, or you need to kind of strategize and be like, wait a minute, how can I just focus on getting this, and this done? Or, how can I just be honest and get more support, ask for more help from others so I don't feel so burdened or so trapped? Both of these cards, they give a feeling of being trapped and being stuck. One is but with like tasks, obligations, energy. It's like an energy thing. Like there's like too much going on, there's too much to do. And this one's more of a mental. So the Eight of Swords is more of a mental trap. It's more our thoughts, our fears, our anxieties, our paranoias, things of the mind keeping us trapped, keeping us stuck. We're afraid of this, we're afraid of that. It's like too much fear, too much anxiety, too much mental energy. Frantic, paranoid. Oh, it's like that. Oh, it's like that energy. I always think of the Eight of Swords as like, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. Have you guys ever had like ever seen like a child or even a animal, like a baby animal that was afraid of everything? Like, they're like you put them in a new room and they're walking around and they're just like afraid of everything, right? Like that's what the Eight of Swords gives me. Right now, at least that's what it's giving me. It doesn't give me that all the time, but it's giving me that right now. And this really speaks to the energy of this week. Like we need to focus on the locality of our lived experience. Like we can't take on the anxieties of like others or the anxieties of the world. It's very important. We are in an age of information overload. And whatever you want to know, you can know. You could just Google it and look it up. Whether it be with like knowledge information or even like news information, like what's happening, right? But knowing too much about what's happening all around the world is a lot for the spirit to carry. You know, it's like police brutality and racism and war and the sexism and Trump and then the Epstein files. It's like, it's too much. It's too much. And it's like we got to worry about all that and then we still got to focus on what's going on in our own individual life. It's information overload, information overwhelm. We have too much access to traumatic information, traumatic news. And the spirit and the consciousness can only carry so much, can only tolerate so much, right? We got too much to think about, too much to rummage about. So, what spirit is saying is like, be very intentional around the information that you are absorbing right now, okay? And kind of choose your battles wisely, pick your struggles wisely. You can't be an agent. You can't fight all the wars, right? There's a spiritual war going on. There's a financial war going on. We're waging war on the Epstein class. There's war in Iraq going on. It's like there's a war in Iran, is what I meant to say. It's like there's so much conflict everywhere right now, right? You don't have to monitor it all and be listening to the news every day and watching it all because and then you're here, Eight of Swords, you feel powerless, you can't do nothing about it. You're just, listening to this and watching this, and it's creating all this anxiety and fear and stress that is unnecessary that you don't really need. You know what I mean? This is why like I miss simpler times, before the age of TV and radio, when the only way to get information was by reading a newspaper or by gossip, hearing it from someone else. You know what I mean? Right? Like I missed those days. I think as a collective, we should long for those days because the extent of our worries was really more localized to our life and what we're going through as an individual, and things like that. But now it's like the world is our problem and everything is our problem. It's just too much. So the message with the Eight of Swords, especially this week, is kind of like be mindful of the amount of information that you're negative, pessimistic, fearful, tragic information that you're absorbing. Don't watch the news 6 hours a day if it's just trauma dumping on you. You know, it's too much. It's too much. We can only carry so much. You know, the mind, the consciousness, the psyche, the spirit can only deal with so much negativity and so much trauma before it has an impact on the body, the soul, the spirit in a negative way. You know, like your cortisol levels being high all the time, right? Eventually, chronic stress leads to health conditions. You know what I mean? Different forms of health conditions, right? So it's like I just want you guys to be mindful of this because Spirit is saying like some of y'all just need to take a break. You need to like rest your mind. You need to like disconnect from the world a little bit, or you need to stop watching the news, or you just stop listening to all this negativity, or you need to stop talking about what like the joyful, good stuff that you got going on in your life. You stop sharing that with negative, pessimistic people. You know, stop surrounding yourself with people that are just negative and pessimistic and fearful and anxious. You know, stuff like that. You know, trying to invest my time into gardening to help. Yeah, it's good. And then the Six of Swords, right? The King of Swords in reverse and the Six of Swords. And to me, all these cards, I just the energy this week with these cards is like it's just seems like there's just a lot of people are just going through things. You know, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of doubt, pessimism, a lot of people saying the wrong things, a lot of things being miscommunicated. People just also like this energy of like apathy. You know, people feeling apathetic. You know, stuff like that, and we need to we need to be joyous, right? We need to be optimistic. We need to be, yeah, look at this. Four of Wands and then the Fool card, you know? It's like we need to be joyful. We need to be optimistic. We need to be positive. We need to look forward to, to what's to come and stuff like that, okay? Our energetic disposition speaks to that just how powerful we are as manifestors, you know? When you are joyful, lighthearted, loving, optimistic, positive, when you are sharing that energy in a world that's full of negativity and pessimism, you become a magnet for people. People want to see you. They want to talk to you. They want to work with you. They want to hire you. They want to give you things. And that helps with your ability to manifest good, positive things in your life. Your energetic disposition speaks to just how powerful you are as a manifester, right? Positive, joyful people, okay, that are optimistic, life tends to work for them a little bit more because they're sharing the light of the divine. They may not be faithful or believe, but just them being a beacon of light, them being an optimistic, positive, joyful person, okay, it's going to open doors for them. And people are going to want to be with them. And that creates a magnetism, you know? And we need to be beacons of light in a world that's shrouded in darkness right now. You know, like spirit, the divine is calling forth, you know, the holy soldiers, and we were thinking of like the spiritual war as like going out there and it's not like this aggression that we think. The spiritual war is not an aggressive thing, it's an energetic disposition thing. It's you being mindful of your energy, of what you're bringing into the world. Are you bringing more love, more light, optimism, positivity, joy into the world? Is your work, your words, your relationships, the way you engage with others, is it uplifting other people? Is it helping? Is it healing? Is it being of service? Is it shining? Is it motivating, right? Is it guiding others? That's the best way that you can have a positive impact, not only in your life, but that you can also become a master manifester. It's all about energetic disposition. You see what I'm saying? So, and you'll notice this. People that are negative all the time, that are frustrated, depressed, sad, and they're like, that's their state of being, things don't happen for them. Things that don't, and even when things do happen for them, there's still not enough. They're still not satisfied. They're still frustrated and mad and angry. Even when they're good, and then they sabotage. They'll even sabotage their own opportunities because they're not joyful or happy or positive or optimistic, right? So they'll get in fights and arguments. They'll burn bridges. They'll say no when they should be saying yes. So many people, the universe gives them a beautiful, tasty piece of apple pie, and because they're so used to saying no, they're like, nah, they don't believe it, they don't trust it, right? They're like, they're giving me that apple pie because they want something from me. They're giving me that apple pie because blah, 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 blah. And sometimes God just wants to give you an apple pie, period. And that's just what it is. And there's none of this, and so they'll say no to good things. A lot of people say no to good things. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they self-sabotage because they don't believe that they're deserving of better, deserving of more, or they're very pessimistic and negative. So they're very, oh, this good thing, oh, this, not for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. I don't know. It's weird. I don't get it because I'm not like that. So, but I see it a lot. Okay. I see it a lot. And so I think we have a certain responsibility to be joyful, optimistic, positive, of service to others, you know, because the universe gives back to us in that type of way. You know what I mean? So, and just also, just because you're a joyful, optimistic person, just because you're a person of faith or you're a person of spirit or whatever, that doesn't mean that you can't be sad or fearful. Because I'm going to tell you one thing, spiritual awareness makes you more aware of your grief, makes you more aware of your fear, it makes you more aware of your pessimism or your doubt. The spiritual path amplifies the emotional experience. So, like, sadness when you're a spiritual person is like heavier, okay? Like things are more intense when you're on the spiritual path. You just feel a little bit more deeply. Everything's a little bit more complex. The universe kind of makes you more aware of things, and things are deeper, right? Joy is deeper. Like when you're joyful and happy, oh, you're really joyful and you're really happy. But when you're sad or grieving, you're also going to be grieving deeper and you're going to be sadder, okay? Because it's the depth. It's the depth that the spiritual path brings, right? It brings more intensity. It brings more depth. So everything is more intense. Everything is more deep. It's very important to be mindful of this, because when a spiritual person is grieving or going through something sad or tragic, I feel like they're going to be able to bounce back from the spirit experience a lot quicker because they have a little bit more of they have a mindful awareness of endings and loss and tragedy. I think that's the beautiful thing that spirituality does, or the spiritual path does, is it empowers us and it gives us tools to be able to navigate sadness and tragedy and loss or moments of frustration, you know? Like we're able to bounce back and move through it, a little bit better. But I also think it makes us feel so much deeper. And it can really feel like heavy. It can really feel like, tragedy, loss, grief. It can feel like a bowling ball, in the gut type of thing. It could be this heaviness, like, oh, this weight. It could really feel like that. And sometimes that's part of how God is shaping us, you know? Sometimes it's like we gotta go through the valley of the shadow of death, to meet the light or to get to the light. You know what I mean? And that's part of it. So, I want you guys to understand this. Like the spiritual journey is not like sunshine and rainbows, you know what I mean? The spiritual journey is it's gonna deepen you. It's gonna deepen you in ways that you probably weren't ready for, but it's gonna make you grieve. You're gonna I think that's a big part of the spiritual path is um the reoccurring tower moments that are like kind of like these shadow work moments. Um Dark night of the soul. That's the phrase I was looking for. The dark night of the soul. Yeah. Where like everything is like stripped down and you're just like sitting with yourself at the bottom of the pit, and you can see no light. Like that, the dark night of the soul moments are imperative to the spiritual journey. And some people are there right now. You know what I mean? We're seeing a lot of people going through that, you know? And like a dark night of the soul. But what's happening, right? And when we're going through a dark night of the soul process, there's a divine reckoning. There's a divine purification that's happening in the spirit when we're going through moments, right? We're going through a period of the dark night of the soul. Like Shia LaBeouf right now, he's going through his dark night of the soul. He's having to look at himself. And he's having to look at all the parts about himself that are fucking ugly, that he hates, that he doesn't like, and that he knows that are a problem, but he doesn't know how to fix it quite yet, you know? Because that's what the dark night of the soul does. That's what the path does. Like, it has you take a look at everything within you. You can't run from yourself, you can't hide from yourself. You got to look at all the ugly. You got to look at the codependency. You got to look at the anxiety. You got to look at the paranoia. You got to look at the narcissism. You got to look at the jealousy. You got to look at the fear. You got to look at the control. You got to look at the avoidance. You got to look at the way you try to control, the way you avoid and distract. You got to look at your escapist habits. You got to look at your toxicity. You got to look at your addictive habits. It makes you look at the things that you run from, that we want to avoid. That's part of the spiritual path. Because that's what it is. We're asking the divine for revelation. We're asking the divine for clarity, for truth, right? The whole spiritual path is spirit, bring me to purpose, bring me to joy, bring me to fulfillment, bring me to happiness, bring me to myself. And the whole spiritual path is the process of illumination. But what is being illuminated? The darkness, the shadows, the avoidance, the anxiety, the fear, the toxicity, the trauma, right? It's like that is such a necessary part of it. How many of you at the beginning of your spiritual path, or you're on it, like your life has become like trauma, trauma, trauma. You're talking about trauma every day, right? Like, right? So there's some kind of trauma that you're dealing with, right? Because that's part of it. You can't heal what you can't see, you know? That's literally part of the spiritual path. It's like a psychological one. It's like facing the traumas and stuff, right? And the reason why trauma comes to the surface as part of our spiritual awakening is because it's the trauma that's keeping us stuck. It's the trauma that's reinforcing the negative and bad habits and bad behaviors. It's the trauma that keeps us going and what is this? It keeps us reciprocating and experiencing over and over again toxic relationships, right? Traumatic relationships are trauma formed or trauma informed, right? The only way we can form a traumatic or experience a traumatic relationship is if that relationship is built on trauma and if we're bringing our trauma into it. And if two traumatized people are getting together, right? Traumatizing each other, right? Like, oh, this is my trauma. Let me go ahead and project it on you. Oh, this is my trauma. Let me go ahead and project it on you. That's all we're doing, you know? Like most of these relationships today are trauma bonds. Let's be honest, right? Let's be honest. A lot of people are trauma bonded, okay? And a part of that spiritual process, right, is understanding that damn, look at these relationships. And look at this. Look at how they all smell the same and look the same. You know, how is it that I've dated three different versions of Juan, right? Like three different versions of whatever, right? And you're experiencing, baby, that's because those relationships are trauma informed. The reason why you're recreating that same toxic relationship, okay, is because you're not working on your trauma. But when we start to heal our trauma, which is part of the spiritual journey, right? We clear out the shadows of the behavior, the shadowy behaviors, and we start to attract and form relationships with others that are healthy and balanced, that are full of security, that are safe, that are abundant, right? That are close and intimate, not fearful, not paranoid, not toxic, stuff like this. So I think, this eclipse season has been illuminating a lot of shadows for people. It's been showing you where you have trauma formed relationships or where relationships in your life are based that are kind of connected to trauma in some type of way. And I think it's very important, this week. Okay. the message is like, are you making choices and decisions of your in your life out of fear, out of trauma, out of paranoia, out of pessimism? Or are you making choices and decisions in your life out of joy, out of opportunity, out of faith, out of trust? Because if you reap good seeds, you're gonna if you sow good seeds, you're gonna reap good fruit, you know? If you sow bad seeds, you're gonna get bad fruit from it. So it's like, you know, a choice or a decision is like the sowing of a seed, even. You know what I mean? Your choices and your decisions have consequences. So they're like seeds that you plant and they're gonna go ahead and gestate and they're gonna have a result. And the result is gonna be based on what did you make that decision out of? Was it out of joy, optimism, positivity, passion, excitement, opportunity? Or was it out of fear, pessimism, doubt, paranoia, negativity, or even out of trauma, right? And that could be the choice to be with a certain person. You know, you chose to be with that person, and now you have to reap what you sow. And was that a good choice? You know, is it really putting is that relationship, that connection, really giving back what you're putting into it? Is it reaping good? You know, is there a good harvest that it's bringing to your life, or is there a bad harvest? You know what I mean? And the 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 message from spirit is to like be clear around where your decision making and choices are coming from this week. We have Mercury going to be going direct, you know, on the 20th, 19th to 20th. So it's like important that we trust and have faith, you know, in our own decision making process, but that we're also making choices that are coming from a good place, whether it be a good place from within ourselves, a good place for others, right? Something like this. That's a big message from spirit. Okay. Wow. Sorry, I didn't mean for this tarot reading to become like a whole thing on spirituality, but hey, that's where spirit brought me today. So, you know, we're gonna take it and let it be what it is. Let me see what people are saying. Hold on. Trauma bonding is a way to bring connection, romantic connection. Yeah. And people falling in love, not advisable, but it happens. Yeah. Yeah, be careful. Trauma bonded relationships, you know, you will know them because they make you more traumatized. Let's talk about the astrology of the week, okay? You'll know if a relationship is trauma bonded because it brings instead of bringing healing, it brings more trauma. It's like it's actually like things don't get better, things get worse. Why? That was really strange. I would like couldn't find a place to put my tarot. That was really interesting. I don't know why I did that. Someone said the messages need to be said. Thank you. I definitely need to hear that. I feel like I'm going through a dark night of the soul, and life is putting BTA. What's BTA? Oh, putting a bitch through it. Is that what it means? A bitch through it? Is that what BTA means? That would be BTI, putting a bitch through it. Okay, let's take a look at the stars. So we're gonna be doing the astrology of today from Monday the 9th until Monday the 16th. I'm gonna start including the following Monday in the week ahead. So it's gonna go Monday to Monday instead of Monday to Sunday. Okay. Just so there's continuity. I was thinking about that actually over the weekend. I was like, I should be including the astrology of the following Monday, the Monday that I do the week ahead on for continuity purposes. Bitch going through it. Belt to ass. Oh, that's what BTA stands for. That's funny, dude. That's funny. BTA belt to ass. That's new to me. I don't even know where the moon's at. Like, what is going on? Like, I feel like I feel like I've been so tapped into Shia LaBeouf. I feel like that man, I've been like, he probably feels me in his life. He probably feels this like presence. He's like, who the fuck is watching me right now? Oh, that's Louis the Soul Sage, bro. Tapped into your energy. Because I've been really tapped into him. I've been really like, he's so sad. That man, he's so broken. He's so sad. You know what's interesting about him is he reminds me of a friend who's also Gemini that I had in high school. and that friend has like a wounded ego thing too. I think he might have. I think my friend might also have the Sun conjunct Chiron and Gemini. Actually, he might actually have that same aspect that Shia LaBeouf has. He's sad. Oh, it makes me feel sad, because I'm on my spiritual journey. Like yesterday, I was crying. Like I be crying. Okay, I cry every day almost. Okay, it's part of my spiritual practice. Okay, I'm a Pisces rising. Okay, I'm a water sign. Like I'm Scorpio, Pisces rising. So I be crying about the most random. Like I was crying about my old dog yesterday. Okay, because a post of him came up from like that I posted in 2020. It came up in my memories. So I was crying about my old dog, my first dog. Well, he was technically my second dog. Yesterday. I was like, "Oh, my baby." But then I like I don't stay there cuz my natural energetic disposition is like I'm a joyful spirit. Like I'm a joyful soul. Like I love life. I love being here, you know? Like I'm having a good time. Even when things are tough or hard or difficult or sad, I have a certain amount of awareness that I know that I don't take life too seriously. It's never as bad as you think it is. And so like I'll get sad and I'll grieve and I'll like be in this energetic space, but I won't be there for too long. I like bounce back real quick, because I know it's all part. I know the emotional experience is part of the spiritual journey, but I don't give my emotions too much power, even though I feel strongly. I do feel very strongly. I'm a Scorpio stellium. I'm a Pisces rising. I'm very watery. I feel my emotions very deeply, very profoundly, right? But I also don't let them overcome me. I don't let them become my truth because I understand that they move and they flow and that they shift. And the way I feel about something right now, I may feel very differently about that same thing 30 minutes from now, because that's the nature of emotion. It's a water element, right? It changes, it fluctuates. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, right? Things like this. So I just allow my emotions I observe them, I let them flow through me, but I don't hold on to them, you know? Sometimes there's powerful, heavy ones that do come up that are a little toxic because I'm a Scorpio, and every Scorpio's got a little toxicity in them, especially toxic emotions, But I work through those. I let, I'm like, okay, what the fuck is making me so mad? And I work through that, I work through it. But I don't let it like overcome me, I don't let these emotions convince me that they're true, and I don't let them fuck up my life and my joy. Okay, I'll tell you that. All right. And I think it's important, I think a big part of the spiritual journey for some people is this kind of like self-deprecation and like for some people, like I don't know, there's something like for Shia LaBeouf, there's something like they're spiritual masochists. I don't know how else to say it. And this is like it's like the Catholic version of like the spiritual journey. It's like pain and suffering and self-flogging, and I gotta like hurt myself to find God. Like, if you want to do that, if that's your journey to spirit and God, I don't think it has to be that way. But if you want to do that, you could go do that. I think there's an easier way. I don't think you have to like get beat into submission and have God punish you and destroy you in order to like realize what he's trying to teach you. I don't think you need to do all that. Okay. I think there's a much gentler way, a much more peaceful way to get to spirit, to get to God, to like, get to the divine, whatever, to go on the path, to walk the path. But hey, teach their own. Teach their own. You know what I mean? If you want to go kicking and screaming, if you want to show up at the gates with like blood all over your hands and all over your knees and you're all scraped up and beat up, you go do that. You go do that. Yeah, it's his conscience. Yeah, it's a projection. Yeah, it's definitely a project. He's got a rough spirit. It's like what happens when a soldier wants to go on a spiritual journey. What happens when a criminal, when a warrior goes on a spiritual journey? Their spiritual journey is not going to look like, someone like me who's more like a poet and an artist and a creative, you know, on going on the spiritual journey, right? Because I'm not like rough and blood and all that, the way a warrior goes on a spiritual journey, which is what Sheila Buff is. He has the karma of like being a warrior in many lives, like going to war, like being a soldier. So the way a soldier, goes and finds God and goes is going to be different than the way a poet or an artist or creative like myself, goes on a spiritual journey. It's going to look very different, you know? This is why we can't compare our spiritual journey to other people's. We can't compare our spiritual process and our spiritual journey to someone else's because everyone, God talks to everyone differently. And God leads everyone differently. And God, you know, everyone's path to the divine and to their highest self is different. For some people, they got to break down and fall apart, and that's what the divine wants them to do. Like, you know, they gotta their ego has to get destroyed a little bit, you know, for them to like come to Jesus or come to the divine or wake up to their divinity, right? Um, but that's not my path. Okay, that's we're not doing that in this lifetime. I'm not like, you know, destroying myself. I'm not going through that process of self-destruction, you know. I don't need that to find Jesus and God and the divine, okay? Some people do though. You know, there's some men especially, I think some men they need that. They need to kind of be humbled and broken down a little bit. They need to go through some things, you know. Yeah. Look what Nat said. Some assignments are group projects, partnerships, solo work, different lessons. We can't compare. Only God knows the curriculum and outcome. It's so true. All right. Enough about that. Let's talk about the stars. We're an hour in. It's 12:56, so we have plenty of time to talk about the stars. So what's going on in the sky this week? Well, we are wrapping up eclipse season this week. The moon right now at this very moment is in Sagittarius, and this is our square. So the moon in Sag is our waning square. We had our full moon in Virgo, which was a lunar eclipse in Virgo. We had that about a week ago now. Now we're at the Yeah, we're at the waning. I don't know if would it be I don't know, I think it's a third quarter moon. I think it's the third quarter moon because this is the waning square before our new moon, which we're going to have in Pisces. So we have a new moon in Pisces a week from now, okay, which is not an eclipse. All right. So this new moon in Pisces, it takes us out of the eclipse energy. But this is the last week that we are dealing with the eclipse energy. And we start off with this waning square. It's a waning square, yeah, because the moon is losing light because the new moon's going to be dark. A new moon is dark. The moon is losing light, yeah. So there's like closure, completion, endings this week that we're experiencing that are connected to the eclipses and those people getting hit by the eclipses. So Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag people, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you are the most impacted by this eclipse cycle that we're going through, this lunar cycle, this lunar eclipse in Virgo that we're dealing with. You know, so you may see some movement, you may see some karmic unfolding, you may see some things happen in your life. Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag people, okay? Most directly. But it can be around your Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, or Sag house as well. So you may not be, you know, you may not have any mutable in your big three, but let's say you have a stellium in Virgo, you have a stellium in Pisces, you have a stellium in Gemini, Sag, or even those houses, you know, wherever you have those houses in your chart, there could be some karmic unfolding tied to the eclipses that are impacting that area of your life based on the houses that you have Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius. Okay. So, mutable people, mutable placements, the mutable signs are closing out a very important karmic cycle that's tied to the eclipses that had been going through Pisces and Virgo since the end of 2024. All of 2025, the eclipses were in Pisces and Virgo. This lunar eclipse in Virgo is the last eclipse that we had on the Pisces Virgo axis because now the nodes will be switching into Leo and Aquarius. The eclipses are going to be on the Leo Aquarius axis. So the eclipses are going to be looking at the fixed signs. Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. Whenever you are hearing astrologers talk about eclipse season, talk about the eclipses, your eyes should widen and your ears should perk up because these eclipses moving forward this year and going into next year are going to be primarily impacting you. Okay? So you want to kind of pay attention. You want to be mindful. All right? Hi, Louie. It's my birthday today. Pisces Sun, but Aries rising. What does this mean for me? Well, first and foremost, happy birthday. Second is you should book a reading with me, and we could take a look at that, and I could tell you about your birthday, what what it means for you. Okay. But happy birthday. But we'd have to take a look at reading. I have to take a look at your chart. I'd have to take a look at your chart to give you some insight. Okay. But I love you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. All right. So fixed signs. Okay. Pisces, that Pisces is not a fixed sign. Uh, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo. Okay. The eclipses are going to be helping move things for you. All right. Starting later half of this year. But we'll get there when we get there. Okay. We'll get there when we get there. So for this week, mutable energy, mutable signs, we're wrapping up a certain chapter. Okay. The other thing that we have this week is Venus is moving through Aries and Venus is separating from Saturn. Um, there was someone in my chat this weekend that went through a breakup on Saturday. I don't know. They might get back together. I don't know. Though they might get back together. But anyways, that's because Saturn and Venus came into conjunction last week on Friday. Venus went into Aries. I mean, now we have Venus in the sign of Aries. So with Venus moving through Aries, yeah, Venus went into Aries on Friday. Yeah, Friday to Saturday. Um, that Venus conjoining Saturn in Aries, this is maybe not. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because that might not be true. This is important for relationships. Relationships coming to an end, or even relationships solidifying, and also like new business contracts or the rupturing of contracts, and also legal activity. So, legal things coming to an end, or legal things initiating and beginning. So when Saturn and Venus come together in the sky, right? Saturn is trying to help Venus complete or end certain connections or certain contracts, okay, or certain relationships. Venus is trying to help Saturn commit. And Venus is trying to help Saturn be like, okay, is this thing balanced, fair? Is this connection, is this relationship reciprocal, right? Or has it met its end in some type of way, right? Because Saturn is a planet of time, and Venus is the planet of relationships. So when Venus and Saturn come together in the sky, Saturn is asking, Venus, have you put enough time into this relationship? Are you done with this? Is this the karmic endpoint for this relationship? Or is this the karmic beginning point of a relationship? Should we solidify this? Should we commit? Should we get engaged? Should we get married? Should we make a promise to each other, right? Should we do something where there's a foundational commitment in the relationship in some type of way, right? So I just want you guys to be mindful of that because that initial Venus Saturn contact that just happened a few days ago, it's going to linger this week as Venus is moving through the sign of Aries. But let me tell you, Venus in Aries is a rough place for Venus. Venus goes into her detriment in Aries. She's the ruler of Libra. So whenever a planet is in the sign opposite of the sign that it rules, it's in its detriment. So because Venus rules Libra, and Aries is the sign opposite of Libra, whenever Venus is in Aries, she's going to be in her detriment. Same thing with Venus ruling Taurus and being in the sign of Scorpio, right? Venus, when she rules the sign of Taurus, whenever she's in the sign opposite of Taurus, which is Scorpio, she's in detriment. She's weak because the planets are weak in the sign that opposes them. They go in detriment in the sign that opposes them, right? It's the sign of their opposition. So it's the usually that sign that's opposite of them is where that planet is most uncomfortable. Okay. So Venus is the planet of love. And Aries is the sign of war. So when Venus is transiting Aries, she's kind of inflamed, right? We are feeling more aggressive. We feel like we want to fight and argue in our relationships. We want to address power imbalances. We want to stand up for ourselves, right? And it makes sense. Because what was the card that came out for the week? The card that came to me last night or yesterday, it was like afternoon. And then I ended up pulling it as the first card, the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is very Venus and Aries energy, right? This is about conflict and war, like fighting for our values, fighting for our country, fighting for our kids, fighting for our family, fighting for our self-respect, fighting for our worth, right? Fighting for whatever. It's just the energy of fighting. It's fighting. It's the energy of conflict, fighting, right? So with that, I think it's important with Venus and Saturn, moving together in Aries, but Venus separating from Saturn this week, but Venus transiting Aries. We need to be mindful of conflict with others. And we need to be intentional in what we go to war for, right? Like we don't want to just be going to war, fighting or arguing about something that it has no meaning or purpose, or that's only going to burn bridges and destroy things. It's so funny actually that I'm talking about this. So I'm a big video gamer. Um, I'm more of a, I'm more of a, I don't play video games as much anymore. More, I just like watch Twitch and I enjoy them or whatever. So there's a video game that I play called League of Legends, and there's a team that I follow that I really love, right? I really love them. Like they're just so funny to me and they're so cool and they're competitive and all the people that make up this particular video game, this like team for this video game, um they've been scrimming. So the last over this weekend, they were doing practice rounds because they're about to go and play professionally and compete and whatever. So they were doing all their scrims. They were sharing their scrims. Like a scrimmage is them practicing, playing other teams, right? So they were live streaming their scrims, and they got into the biggest fight and argument. Their coach wasn't there, just happened to be where the a game where the coach wasn't there. And they all started like yelling and screaming at each other and and it was just chaos, dude. And it's become like a whole meme now. Now like that whole thing, it's like blown up on social media and like all the other streamers that stream this game are talking about it. Like it's so crazy. But it's funny because I went and looked, me being an astrologer, like I looked at these guys' charts. I was like, I wonder what their signs are, right? Aries. Three of them are Aries. It is funny because they have a combination of Aries and Pisces, which is what's in the sky right now. We have Mercury retrograde in Pisces, right? We have Venus, Saturn, and Aries. So three of these players on this team of five, they have a combination of Aries and Pisces placements. So the Mercury retrograde in Pisces was like a miscommunication, a misunderstanding that happened on the comms when they were playing the game. And then the Aries energy, right? Venus, Saturn, and Aries, they got into a fight. They started arguing. They got into this war with each other, right? And that's Aries energy, especially Aries men. Like Aries men are going to go to war. They're warriors. They're fighters. Aries people are fighters. They're going to fight. They're going to argue. They're not going to back down from a fight, especially when their ego is involved. Like if their masculinity is being tested, if their power is being tested, if their agency is being tested, if their ego is involved, right? Like, oh my gosh, they're going to be fighting and arguing, right? But it was so funny to see, how this astrology kind of manifested in this argument with them, right? So with that being said, little story time. Be mindful of the battles with Venus and Aries and Saturn and Aries. Be mindful of the arguments and the fights and the battles that you choose this week, okay? What about Saturn moving towards the North Node in Aries? What do you mean? The North Node's in Pisces right now. You're talking about Saturn transiting your North Node? I have that right now. Yeah, it's really important for career. So when Saturn transits your North Node, that's like really important for like career and stuff. But you will experience possibly challenges, karmic challenges, frustration. Depends on where it's at in your chart. It depends on where you have North Node Saturn, where you have Saturn transiting your North Node and what house you have it in. You know what I mean? Because that can also be about struggles, you know. It really depends. It really depends. You'd have to take a look at your chart, you know. Anyways, so Saturn, Venus, and Aries, with Venus transiting Aries, moving through Aries this week, conflicts and war in relationships, you know. And also, if you're a cardinal sign, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, or Libra, you know, relationship stuff or things moving in your life because of Venus, right? So Venus and Aries for Aries and Libra people can bring a shift or a change in their relationship, right? For Cancer and Capricorn people, because Aries and Libra is a 10th house, fourth house, right? This can bring a change with like career, living situation, you know, family stuff, you know, but it could also be relationship oriented. It really depends on how it's hitting the chart. But, you know, in general, Venus is about our relationships with others and our connections with others. So Venus and Aries transiting a cardinal sign, I would expect Venus to bring some kind of movement or to bring some kind of stimulation, I think is the right word, to the lives, the relational lives of cardinal signs. It could be good, it could be bad. It really depends on where you're at right now, you know, and when it comes to connections with others, you know, stuff like this. So yeah, so that's one thing, okay? The other thing this week is Jupiter moves direct. So Jupiter, he's been retrograding for the last like 4 months. And on Tuesday, March 10th, Jupiter begins to move forward. But what's so interesting about Jupiter moving forward is it's kind of happening as he starts moving forward as the sun is separating from a trine with Jupiter. And then we have Mercury who's kind of he's in a retrograded trine with Jupiter. So Mercury is separating from a trine with Jupiter, but he's going backwards. And then Mercury's going to go direct on the 19th to 20th. Temporary server overload. Interesting. So with Jupiter moving forward, we're going to see a lot of people start to move forward. Jupiter is a planet of opportunity, of abundance, of luck, right? Jupiter has a lot to do with big leaps that we make in life. So I always think about Jupiter, I always think about like when you're moving to different states, you know, when you're getting like a new job, you're changing a career path, when you are, you know, graduating college, you know, you're getting married. These are all Jupiter things. And there's like this kind of hope or this joy, there's optimism for the future connected to the change, right? Or connected to the experience. So with Jupiter going direct this week, I want you guys to pay attention to the yeses in your life, the doors that are opening, the vision, the dream, where your intuition is kind of telling you to go. Like, you know, Jupiter, I think, has been giving us a lot of guidance this Pisces season. I think Jupiter's been telling us, like, come over here, you know, this is where your opportunity is. This is where the magic is. This is where, you know, the good luck is. This is where the door is, you know, like, and we may see some forward movement around these opportunities with Jupiter going direct this week. Okay. Um, I don't think we're going to see people really making conclusive choices or decisions until Mercury goes direct around the 20th. But then what happens, like I was saying in the very beginning before we got into the tarot, is Mercury forms a trine with Jupiter around early April. So around like the 5th, the 6th. So this conversation that's happening with Mercury and Jupiter is an ongoing one. It's been happening already, okay? Because Mercury already made an exact trine to Jupiter a few days ago, okay? Mercury's gonna go backwards all the way to 8 degrees Pisces, where he stations and he goes direct. And then he's gonna move forwards and he's gonna make another trine to Jupiter. So they're both direct, and then Mercury makes that trine to Jupiter as he's moving forward, right? And that happens beginning of April. So beginning of April, April 1st, 2nd, we'll go into the 5th, that Mercury Jupiter trine, I'm expecting the beginning of April. There can be like a new moon in Aries or something around that time too. Let me take a look. Let me take a look. Maybe there's a new moon in Aries or full moon in Libra around that time. There's going to be forward movement. Like people are like making big moves. People are making big choices and decisions to like make a big change in their life in some type of way, you know? It's going to be a full moon in Libra. Yeah. It's a full moon in Libra on April 1st. Venus just moves into Taurus at this time. Mercury's trine Jupiter on this full moon. Exactly. Well, not exactly, like within a degree. Mercury's at 14 Pisces and Jupiter's at 15 Cancer on April 1st. This is the day of a full moon in Libra. Sun in Aries, moon in Libra. And this full moon is ruled by Venus, who's in her rulership in Taurus. So I do think like beginning of April, like April 1st, with this full moon on April 1st, like forward movement, a new beginning, setting of a new foundation. Also, a lot of things around real estate and moving and property and stuff like this. That's like going to be a big thing. Like this spring, like people moving, it's going to be a really big theme. So these are things to look forward to. Okay, this is really good stuff. This is really good astrology. This is some good astrology. And Jupiter, he has to whatever blessings, whatever magic, whatever miracles he's meant to bring to our Cancer house, our Cancer energy, or yeah, our Cancer house, or whatever like opportunity abundance he's meant to bring as he transits the sign of Cancer for us. Now that he's going direct, we're gonna see him kind of like living up to his promise from now, or from not now, but what I meant to say was, let me go back. From the 10th of March, tomorrow, he goes direct tomorrow. Yeah. From the 10th of March all the way going into June, when he goes into Leo. Actually, beginning of July. So Jupiter goes into Leo on June 30th. From the 29th to the 30th, Jupiter goes into Leo. So from tomorrow, March 10th, until June 29th, June 30th, March, April, May, June, which is about 3 months and some change, and 3 months and 3 weeks or something like this. 3 months, 2 weeks. Jupiter has to live up to his promise of whatever blessings or magic he's meant to give people while he's in Cancer. Jupiter is going to be creating some kind of like movement or instigating some kind of movement in people's lives, right? And sometimes what Jupiter does, he just shows you that you deserve more. Sometimes that's literally what it's about, right? Sometimes we'll make a choice or a decision to leave something or exit something or to move away from something because Jupiter is telling us you deserve more. More is over here. You can be happier. You can be joyous. You can be more peaceful, right? If you make this decision or make this choice and make this big move or make this big change in some type of way. Okay. So I want you guys to be mindful of this. Jupiter, he's wrapping up in the sign of Cancer from tomorrow, March 10th, going until June 30th, when he goes into Leo. And then he's going to be moving through the sign of Leo. And then his energy is going to be focused a little bit more on the fixed signs, fire signs, right? But Jupiter in Cancer, who is he trying to bless right now, right? Well, the water signs. So Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, the water signs really, because they're the ones that are experiencing Jupiter's energy most directly. And Jupiter's also sending these trines to Scorpio and Pisces placements. So the water signs are going to be experiencing a lot of this kind of like abundance in this opportunity. Second is going to be earth signs. Okay, so Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. I think Jupiter direct is important for you guys. Capricorn is being opposed by Jupiter in Cancer. So, Capricorn, abundance and growth, and also Virgo and Taurus. Virgo and Taurus may not feel it as much, but Capricorn for sure, right? the fire signs and the air signs, air signs, Jupiter direct, this is like in your money houses, like so work, career, money, that's where you may see some growth or opportunity for air signs. And for um fire signs, Jupiter has been a little rough for the fire signs, because it's going through your fire signs are having Jupiter transiting difficult houses right now. So houses 4, 8, or 12, So there can be things around real estate, property, debt, money, paying off debts, or even like inheritances, insurance money coming in, stuff like that for fire signs. But, it's more about closure and endings. Jupiter direct in Cancer, even though Jupiter's moving forward, because he's transiting these a little bit more challenging houses for fire signs, he's bringing an end to a certain chapter in their life for a lot of fire signs. A lot of fire signs are feeling this too. Fire signs have not been feeling like themselves, They've been feeling a little unmotivated. They've been feeling like a little stressed. They've been feeling a little sad. They've been having to feel. And the fire signs do not like feeling. They don't like their emotions, in that way. They like to feel fun, excitement, passion, desire, lust. That's a fire sign thing, lust. But like sadness, emotions, grief, oh please, no, 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 no. Fire signs don't want to feel that. Let me have some fun. Let me, let's party. Let's do the fire and desire thing. But like the sadness and the grieving thing, oh no, no, no. Fire signs, no, no. But you guys, yeah, fire signs are having a feel. So Jupiter direct for fire signs. I think it's going to be about a certain sad chapter in their life coming to a close or coming to an end. Karina said, selling your grandparents' house. Oh, yeah, that's sad. It's, Cancer, Jupiter moving direct in Cancer, property, real estate, right? Jupiter, the planet of grandparents, right? Jupiter going direct. We're selling my grandparents' house, and it's sad because there's an element of like, we're letting go of the past in some type of way, right? It's like grandparents' house, like where we grew up, there's so many memories there, and we're selling it, and it's sad. Yeah, so I feel that, definitely feel that. So yeah, Jupiter direct tomorrow, okay? Jupiter's gonna start to move forward. So don't be surprised if this week there's open doors, there's opportunity that comes to you, you feel this reinvigoration of hope or joy or fun or excitement, or you're planning to travel somewhere, you're planning a vacation, maybe this week, Jupiter direct, Jupiter's like, baby, it's time to travel, it's time to go here, something like that. That's the energy, okay? Every chapter of life was there, and I lived there for years after solo renting. Yep, into an area. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense. All right, so we talked about Jupiter direct. We talked about Venus in Aries. This is the last week of our Oh, no, not the last week, actually. I got a little ahead of myself. I don't think it's the last week. Yeah, we have like a week and a half more of Mercury retrograde. So mind your P's and Q's, mind your words, mutable signs, Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag. It's funny because when I posted that thing about what's his name? He got in trouble. He made Timothy Chalamet. He made the comment, he made like the ballet comment, the comment about ballet or whatever. And like he's been getting like tons of hate. Like they're even like dude, it's affecting his career. It might even affect his like whether or not he wins an award or not. Like that's how bad it's been for him. He's a Virgo rising, and then I think he's a Gemini. Oh no, he's a Capricorn. He's a Capricorn. He's a Virgo rising with the whole Capricorn stellium. But you got to be mindful of what you're saying right now. Mercury retrograde in Pisces is like people, it's like slip of the tongue energy. Like people saying what they should be keeping to themselves. Yeah, I didn't think he said it in a negative way either. And even immediately after he said it, he like apologized. He was like, "Oh, mad respect to like, the ballet community, like, oh, I'm gonna lose some viewership because of that." Like he caught himself right after he said it, but it's like, I don't know. People are just fixated on hating this guy for some reason right now, you know? I'll take a look at his chart. I'll take a deeper look at his chart to see. I'm like, why is this guy getting hated on right now? I think it's the nose. I also think it's the lunar eclipse in Virgo because he's a Virgo rising and the eclipse happened on his rising sign. So I think it's that. I think, but people are like looking for a reason to hate this guy, you know? But yeah, no oversharing. Oversharing gives Mercury, oh, for sure, Mercury and Mercury and Sag. Mercury and Pisces, Mercury and Sag. Like when people have a weak Mercury, or when Mercury's weak in the sky, this is like loose tongue. Yes. Saying like blunt honesty, like being too honest, not running your words through a filter. So you kind of offend people, you ostracize people, you say something that is a little too direct or a little too honest, right? And then people misconstrue it. They take it the wrong way in some type of way, right? So just be mindful of your words, okay? Especially because Mars in Pisces now, right? Mars in Pisces. We have Mercury, Mars in the same sign. Emotional dumping. Emotional dumpling. Did somebody say that? Or like emotional dumpling. That's cute. That's funny. Ooh, I could go for some dumplings. That sounds good, actually. Anyways, yeah, Mercury's retrograde this week still. Let me go back here. And we just got to be mindful of the Mercury retrograde mistakes, you know? So don't say it if you don't mean it. You know what I mean? And just be mindful of how you say it. You know what I mean? And no like over disclosure, you know? I think Pisces is the sign of silence. And sometimes it's just best to shut up, you know? Oh. 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 That is why the Five of Wands came out as well. We have Mercury Mars conjunction in Pisces on Sunday the 15th. So Mars, it's actually like Saturday the 14th and Sunday the 15th. So Mars is moving through Mercury. Mm-hmm. Saturday and Sunday, March 14th and 15th of this upcoming weekend. So this is why Mars, the planet of war, Mercury, the planet of communication. Mercury's retrograde in Pisces with Mars this weekend. This is aggressive communication. This is like argument. Oh, this is drunk people fighting. This is St. Patrick's. This is St. Patty's weekend. This is drunk people fighting. Mercury retrograde in Pisces with Mars. This is drunk people arguing and fighting. This is like blackout people fighting. So what I will say this weekend with Mercury coming into conjunction with Mars, if there's angry drunks that you know of, okay, be a little careful around them. If you are an angry drunk, be careful around them this weekend because this is a very triggering energy. This is an energy of we're arguing and fighting about emotional things. We're feeling hyper emotional about things. So we want to address something or argue about something. I'm going to a potato party. Each of us brings a potato dish. That's funny. A potato party. That's funny. Potato. That's hilarious, actually, that you're going to a party. I love that for you. A potato party. That sounds fun. Well, the moon will be in Aquarius this weekend. So, gatherings, social gatherings. Yeah, on Sunday, the moon will be in Aquarius, and on Saturday, the moon will be in Capricorn. So, Sunday, moon in Aquarius is definitely like protests, social gatherings, hanging out with friends. This is also the sixth house moon transit from our lunar eclipse in Virgo. So, you know, this weekend, especially like Sunday the 15th, Monday the 16th, as the moon is wrapping up in Aquarius on Monday. I do think we're gonna see like it's this is the last of the eclipse energy. Like this is the eclipse energy, like, finishing whatever it needs to do. Like, so just be mindful this weekend, especially Sunday, Monday, of like these kind of like karmic endings or losses or struggles or things that happen that are kind of tied to the eclipses that are tied to like fate and destiny. Okay. But yeah, this Mercury Mars conjunction is going to be a little rough around the edges. Also, the North Node is transiting. Yeah, the North Node is caught up in this. So I'm looking at Saturday, March 14th. What I'm looking at is the North Node at 8 degrees Pisces, Mars at 9 degrees Pisces, and Mercury retrograde at 10 degrees. And we also got to remember that Mercury is going to station retrograde at 8 degrees Pisces. So, and we'll talk about this next week. Next week, Mercury is going to be sitting at 8 degrees, which is a Scorpio degree, with the North Node that's also at a Scorpio degree. And Mercury and the North Node are going to be sitting together starting on Tuesday, March 17th, 18th, 19th. They're sitting together for 3 days at a Scorpio degree. Um, and so, and Mars is transiting this. So I'm going to tell you, amplification of war with this, war at sea, war in the ocean, war in the waterways, okay, with this. This is also going to instigate issues or troubles with water in general. So, this can be like, oh yeah, I got burned by hot water. I left the water on and all of a sudden my sink is flooded or my kitchen is flooded or pipes bursting, things like this. Okay. Because of the Mercury Mars thing. When Mercury and Mars, especially when Mercury's retrograde, when Mercury and Mars come into conjunction, we tend to see Mercury things like Mercury things get inflamed, right? So this is like breaking of objects, breaking the phone, your car getting broken into, stolen. This is like, you getting scammed, getting taken advantage of financially, your credit card, getting stolen. This is like Mercury, Mars, and Pisces. A foot injury. Okay, this is like a foot injury as well, hurting your toes, hurting your feet, tripping and falling, something like that. So oh, this is also theft as well. Mercury Mars conjunction in Pisces, Mercury retrograde with Mars is also theft. So getting things stolen. So I want you guys to be mindful this weekend. Oh my God, my shower is leaking in my kitchen. Oh yeah, well, baby, you got to get it together. Okay, Mercury and Mars are together in Pisces. Mercury retrograde and Mars in Pisces. Okay, time to clean it up. This weekend, be mindful of bringing valuable things to parties. Like, I wouldn't take, if you're going to be drunk, if you're going to be having fun, if you're going to be partying for St. Patty's Day, I wouldn't bring a Gucci purse. I wouldn't bring expensive jewelry, especially if you're a messy individual. If you're a messy drunk, okay, those people that they drink and they just fall up. Oh my, they just fall apart. I think most people fall apart when they drink. Not everyone though. There's some people that are they able to hold it together. But like some people when they drink, they just fall apart. Their hair, their eyelash, their glasses, their keys, their purse, their shoes. How? How do you lose your shoes? We, I don't get it. Like we're out having fun. Maybe where did your shoes go? What? You lost your shoes? Why did you even take them off? What happened? How did we get here? You're walking around barefoot. Walk of shame home barefoot. You don't have no, and we don't even know where they're at. They're gone. Like we don't even know where the shoes are at. They're gone. Like because Pisces rules loss, and Pisces also rules alcohol. So it's funny, right? Like Mercury retrograde in Pisces, but Mars in Pisces, like people literally losing their shoes. Like Pisces rules the feet. We're drunk and we're losing our shoes. That's all Pisces things, you know? You don't wear heels, Louis. I know, but I'm a gay man and I go out with women. I go out with a lot of women, my female friends. And like I'm even thinking of, like losing people. Like I'm like having traumatic flashbacks of going out with my girlfriends, and I like, where did you go? We're all going home, and you are nowhere to be found. You done disappeared. And then I text you, and you went home with the guy, and you didn't tell nobody. You just disappeared on us like this. There was no, there was no text. There was no, hey, I'm leaving with this guy. You just, oh yeah, I'm at this guy. What? How do we get here? Bring extra shoes for them. Well, I don't go out, I don't go out. I'm not a drinker, so I'm not a person that goes out and drinks. Like, I don't do that anymore. I'm getting into my unk years, I'm getting into to unk energy. I'm getting into unk energy. I'm 30, how old am I now? 38, 37, 30. I'm somewhere around there. 38, I think. We're getting to the unk years, you know what I mean? Going out partying, baby, I'm over that. We don't do that anymore. So anyways, bringing it back to the astrology. Mercury retrograde in Pisces with Mars in Pisces this weekend. Okay? Be mindful of your drunk friends and your drunk, angry friends, okay? It might be a little messy though. I'm gonna be honest. This is a little messy. This energy this weekend is a little messy. This is about people being very emotionally triggered and getting angry about things. And people being very sensitive. Like victim energy is very comes alive during Pisces season. You know, Pisces is the sign of the victim. It's a sign of the martyr. It's a sign of the person that makes sacrifices for others. They sacrifice themselves for others. So with this Mercury retrograde in Pisces, Mars in Pisces, the sun's still in Pisces, we're in Pisces season. Be mindful of your victim complex, you know, and don't cater to other people's victim complex. You know what I mean? But there might be some victims this weekend. Victim energy is around. Perpetrator and victim energy. You know, Pisces is the innocent. Pisces and Virgo, these are the signs of the innocent victims. Pisces and Virgo are these are innocent signs, and they're victim signs. They lose power to others and they become victimized by others, right? It's the nature of Pisces and Virgo. It's the energy. It's like these are the signs of the victim. So be mindful of this weekend, my loves. Don't become a villain. Don't become a victim in someone else's story. Don't become a villain in someone else's story. Before you get emotionally triggered and like lash out or argue about something, or if you get your feelings hurt, take a step back and be like, wait a minute. Am I like, did this person mean to hurt my feelings? Is this like an accidental thing? Am I understanding this clearly? Am I seeing this clearly? Because there's a lot of like emotional miscommunication that's happening right now during this Mercury retrograde Pisces. And we just need to be mindful of it. Sometimes our own energy and our own sensitivities and our own triggers make us perceive situations or make us hear something and receive something in a way that someone didn't intend it. And we all of a sudden we get offended, all of a sudden our feelings are hurt, all of a sudden we're feeling in some type of way because this person said this thing or did this thing. But that's just our trigger that they weren't aware of. And they didn't intend it that way. So it's just all in our own head. We're kind of triggering ourselves, and stuff like that. So we just need to be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. Like for instance, for example, right? Let's say you have a body insecurity thing and you have a hard time receiving compliments. Because whenever someone compliments you, they remind you of your body and you get all insecure and you get all triggered, right? So you're out partying, right? And this guy or this girl walked up to you and they're like, "Oh, I love your outfit. You look so good." But because you're all drunk and you're in an insecure place and you have all these insecurities about your body, they're trying to give you a compliment and you get offended. How fucking dare you say that? Like, oh, blah, 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 blah. You feel some type of way, you get all mad, you get all defensive. Like, oh, are you being sarcastic? Are you being whatever, whatever? And they're just genuinely trying to give you a compliment. But your insecurities are not able to receive that compliment. And you misperceive the situation as sarcasm or something, right? It happens a lot. Our insecurities, right? Our traumas, whatever it is, our triggers, whatever, they kind of blind us to the truth of the situation sometimes, because all we're experiencing and reliving is our woundedness. And then we're projecting our woundedness onto the situation. So it blinds us to what's actually happening. You know, all of a sudden we're our 8-year old self with our mom telling us, that we're fat. Even though that's not what's happening in that situation. In that situation, someone's just trying to compliment what you're wearing. But you're experiencing it and reliving this trauma, and you're like, oh, this is just like how my mom used to judge me for my weight when I was growing up, you know? But that's actually not what's fucking happening. Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Be mindful of this because this energy is around right now. Like people are projecting their own emotional traumas and their own victim energy or whatever, right, onto situations that are not real, they're just a manifestation of a past trauma thing, right? So it's very important. It's very important, you know? Sometimes we get so emotionally caught up in our woundedness that it blinds us. It blinds us to the truth of what's actually happening. So this is on the weekend. So this is the weekend. Okay, this is Saturday, Sunday, Monday as Mercury retrogrades into conjunction with Mars. We're gonna start, but we're gonna be feeling the buildup of this energy though. Yeah, even on Thursday, like Mars and the North Node are conjunct, So intense that's an intensification of Mars things when the North Node and Mars are conjoining together in Pisces. And that's on Thursday the 12th. So, don't really like when the Mars and the North Node come together. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't really like that when Mars and the North Node come together. Both of these, the North Node and Mars are very destructive energies. They're very destructive. They're chaotic and they're aggressive. The North Node is an aggressive placement, an aggressive thing. People that have the North Node on the rising, North Node on the Sun, North Node on Mercury, they're aggressive people. The North Node is an aggressive thing. Okay, it's an aggressive energy. So with Mars and the North Node coming into conjunction and then conjoining on Thursday, March 12th, there's like aggressiveness, emotional aggressive energy in the air. We just want to be mindful. I want you guys to be mindful of this. Okay. There could also be some difficult things that happen, some violent things. I think this is a week where there's violent stuff continuing to happen. I just gotta be honest with you guys. Because the way Mars is being activated, we have Venus, Saturn, and Aries, right? Venus is in Aries, a sign ruled by Mars. North Node, Mars together. Mercury coming backing up into conjunction with Mars, retrograding into conjunction with Mars on the weekend. So there's like a lot of Mars energy. There's a lot of Mars energy in the air, but it's also like Pisces though. So it's also sensitive. It's victim energy. It's sad. It's like grieving. It's like endings and stuff, right? So just be mindful of this, okay? This kind of like a lot of Mars energy in the air, but also a lot of sensitivity, a lot of emotion, a lot of sadness in the air. People are being very emotionally triggered right now as well, and hypersensitive. Also, another thing, people are feeling more sensitive right now. People are very sensitive right now. So just be mindful of what you're saying, because people can get easily triggered this week emotionally. Okay. We're wrapping up our lunar eclipse and Virgo cycle this week, right? So, all right. Let's talk about the moon. Anything else that I needed to like mention? Let me see. Oh, we did have our Sun Mercury Kazemi. Did we already have that? Oh yeah, that happened. Yeah, we had our Sun Mercury Kazemi Friday, Saturday, the 6th and the 7th. So Mercury, he's moving behind. He moved behind the sun, and he's going on the other side of the sun. Right. So now we're after the Sun Mercury Kazemi that we had on Friday, Saturday. Mercury's moving behind the sun. So there's this energy of like being brought to the past, needing to go backwards before you can go forwards, needing to fix or repair things, or trying to fix or repair things, right? Things that may have not been figured out around documentation, documents submitted, things with the government, paperwork, bills, whatever. Things like that, us having to go back and fix or repair these things. So this can be like, oh yeah, I didn't pay a bill. I forgot to pay this bill. Now I got to go and pay it. Oh, I forgot that I had to have this conversation, reach out to this person. So let me go ahead and send that email. or something like this. I just want you guys to also be mindful of continued delays around these things, you know? So what there may be some legal processing stuff that's delayed right now. You know, you may be waiting for an answer back from somebody and it's like it's taking forever and it's not coming and you're like, what the fuck's going on? You know? Like just be aware Mercury is retrograde, backwards, not forwards. He's going backwards. So this is about reflection. This is about consideration of choices and decisions. This is about all right, let me weigh my options, but I'm not deciding quite yet because Mercury hasn't moved forward yet, right? So I think we just need to be mindful of this energetic space that we are in collectively with Mercury retrograde this week, okay? We're in an energy of reflection. We're in an energy of renewal. We're in an energy of reconsideration or consideration of options and choices. We're in an energy of decision making, but not necessarily making the decision quite yet. Okay. We're in an energy of kind of like fixing and repairing and healing. Okay. And kind of working with what we got. Right. So I just want you guys to be mindful of that, okay? Because you may be like, oh, I want to start or begin this thing, but it just doesn't feel like the right time, you know? And that's because Mercury's retrograde. But if Jupiter going direct tomorrow tells you, hey, yes, this is the time for something, or this is the time to jump, or this is the time to say yes, or this is the time to reach for that opportunity, you go, okay? Just because something starts during Mercury retrograde doesn't mean that it's gonna, that it's not meant for you. Like many people begin things during Mercury retrograde. And this is why, for certain people, like myself, because I'm a Mercury retrograde person, I have Mercury retrograde in my own chart. We see Mercury retrograde people, especially people when they have Mercury retrograde in their chart, they begin things or start things when Mercury is retrograde. And I actually realized this in my own chart with my own life. Multiple jobs that I started or got hired was actually during a Mercury retrograde. And that has happened to me 2 times actually, both of my baking jobs. 2 of my baking jobs. I got hired and went through the interview process during a Mercury retrograde. And it was fine. It was fine. But that's because I have Mercury retrograde in my own chart, you know? Oh, Jupiter going direct to my fifth house, starting to volunteer at a creative reuse center, sorting art supplies. Oh, I love that. That's really cool. Jupiter loves that. Jupiter loves when we um are generous with our time and our energy and our resources. So Jupiter loves when we do volunteer work. Jupiter loves when we, are coaches, when we mentor someone. Jupiter loves when we like give someone guidance, in a moment, when we like sit there and listen to someone. Like Jupiter loves that. Oh my God, he shines down upon us and he's like, you are just such a good human being. You're being so good. I love that. He loves that. So doing volunteer work, if you want good karma, like if you want to really boost up your dharma, like get some cookies in the cookie jar when it comes to spirit and God and the divine, okay? Help others. Be of service. Volunteer, okay? Help kids, help the poor, like do things for just help and be of service. You will see, I'm telling you. But you can't go in it with the intention of getting something back from spirit and God though. That's like not the thing, right? Like, oh, like God, I'm volunteering, these 100 hours, and I'm expecting this, like it can't be like that, it has to come from a genuine place, you know, has to come from a place of authenticity because God knows our heart, spirit knows our heart. The planets, they read our energy very easily. They know us, they can see us so clearly, they see us more clearly than we see ourselves. Okay, and they know our heart, they know our intentions, they know whether or not we're being genuine and authentic and if we're coming from a place of love, and so it has to come from the heart, can't just be like, oh, I'm doing this to get something back, like we don't barter with God like that. We don't barter with spirit like that, it's not the way it works, You do this for me, we don't. That's how another energy works. That's how a lower vibrational, darker energy works, is what I'll say. That's not how the divine works, though. That's not how spirit works. Not like that. You know what I mean? All right. So we have a few more minutes, but let's talk about the moon as we wrap up for the week ahead astro, because we're pushing now. We're getting to about the 2 hour mark, and that's when I start to get a little tapped out. You know. All right, all right. So the moon, what's the moon doing? What's the moon doing this week? What's the moon doing this week? What's the moon doing? What's the moon doing? What's the moon doing this week? So the moon is going through Sagittarius today, tomorrow. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The moon just went into Sag actually not that long ago. The moon's at 2 degrees Sag right now. So the moon in Sag, the moon is trining Venus and Saturn in Aries today. The moon is going to be, the moon is squaring Mars today. Oh, the moon's going to be, oh, yeah. Oh, the moon squares Mercury tomorrow. The moon squares the sun and trines Chiron on Wednesday. Okay, today, tomorrow, Wednesday. A little rough. A little rough. This is the waning square from our full moon eclipse that we had. This is the moon trine Venus, which we like, but the moon trine Saturn. So, you know, there could be things around burden, hardship, or difficulty today. There could be certain clarity that shines upon us in relationships or partnerships today, or even stuff with like legal matters, business, work, career stuff, you know, moon trine Saturn, moon trine Venus today. Um, the other thing I realized as is tomorrow, as the moon is in the middle degrees of Sag, the ruler of the moon in Sag, so the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, is going direct. So as Jupiter goes direct tomorrow and starts shifting directions, and he shifts gears, and he does a little U-turn, right? And he moves forward. He's also, we have the moon in Sag, a sign ruled by Jupiter, and we have the sun in Pisces with Mercury retrograde and Mars there, a sign ruled by Jupiter. So I don't know. I'm feeling like a big cosmic shift in energy that happens on Tuesday that's connected to the sun and the moon both being in Jupiter ruled signs as well. So I think moon and Sag on, I'm sorry, Tuesday, moon and Sag tomorrow on Tuesday, squaring Mercury retrograde, separating from a square with Mars, but also Jupiter going direct. It feels like tomorrow may be very important for people. Maybe there's certain choices or decisions that they do make tomorrow. Maybe there's a piece of information that they get tomorrow that informs a future direction. Okay. I don't know why. I'm also getting like announcements around layoffs and stuff like this though, or decisions being made maybe by employers and stuff where it just feels like there's people that make hard decisions tomorrow. And there's people that make hard decisions associated with loss in some type of way. So it's like, oh, we're deciding that we're going to let go of this thing. We're deciding that we're going to let go of this person. We're deciding that we're going to close this business. We're deciding that we're going to move from this place and it's sad. We're deciding that we're going to sell this thing, you know, stuff like that. But then also, because it's Jupiter energy, maybe that we're sacrificing something, we're moving away from something, letting go of something for a better opportunity. You know, it could be like a mixture of sadness, but also hope and joy, you know? Hey, Louie, love, will this be on YouTube? Yes, it will. I'll be uploading this to YouTube after. I didn't do this live on YouTube because the live and the uploaded videos, they go and do two different sections. So it's weird. It's like whenever, if I do a live on YouTube, it's not going to get saved under my general videos. It gets saved under my live tab and it's going to be like a live session. And that has different access, that has a different logarithm than general posted content or long form posted videos on YouTube. I don't know why they just don't make it all the same. They should just make it all the same, but you know, they have their reasons, you know, stuff like that. So, but yeah, it will be uploaded, okay? So yeah, Moon and Sag today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Jupiter going direct tomorrow on Tuesday. The moon in a Jupiter ruled sign, the sun in a Jupiter ruled sign, as Jupiter goes direct tomorrow. Forward movement with things, difficult choices or decisions that we make. Still considering options though. Mercury's retrograde though, Mercury's retrograde. So there's no pressure, but if something shows up for you and it's like a big yes and it's like a now thing, you got to say yes to it, even though Mercury's retrograde. Don't worry about that, okay? Important. I think it's so like it's crazy to me when someone will be like, "Oh yeah, Mercury's retrograde. I'm not gonna like move or I'm not gonna get this job because Mercury's retrograde." That is nuts to me. Like, no, you still got to live your life. You don't let a retrograding planet inform a decision or a choice for you in that way, right? Like, no, it's you don't. We don't want to give the planets too much power, okay? So, all right. Um, and then Wednesday, the moon's at last degree Sag, but the moon is squaring the sun, and that's an important, Wednesday is very important in the cycle, the relationship between the sun and the moon, right? Because the sun and the moon, we rely on their relationship for new moons and full moons. So we have a new moon in Pisces coming up next week. Yeah, that we'll be talking about that next week. I might do a live this upcoming weekend on the new moon in Pisces, okay? And we'll talk about that. I think it's going to be a really cool new moon. I think it's a beautiful new moon. I really am excited for these late degree new moons that we've been having. Um, the solar eclipse in Aquarius was a little rough, I will say. That was a new moon that wasn't nice. But this new moon in Pisces is going to be really refreshing, really rejuvenating. It's going to be really awesome. It's going to be really positive, really, really good. So I'm excited. And we'll talk about this new moon in Pisces over the weekend, okay? But yeah, so the moon in Sag, uh, today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Sagittarius is a sign of travel, optimism, joy, hope. Joy, hope is more Pisces, but it's ruled by Jupiter. So, um, fun, athleticism, gambling, risk taking, Vegas. That's Sag. That's all Sag energy. So, but then things get serious come Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the moon goes into Capricorn. And the moon is responding to Saturn who's in Aries now, right? So I do feel Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, as the moon is transiting Capricorn and Aquarius, being ruled by Saturn, things kind of take a little bit of a serious tone. We're thinking about the future. We're thinking about our expectations and our responsibilities. We're thinking about our family. We're thinking about the things that we got to protect, the things that we got to keep safe, right? Thursday you'll be 7 years sober. Congratulations! I love that for you. A beautiful day to celebrate because the moon is going to be opposing Jupiter. So what I will say, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all heavy. Oh, we have a Friday the 13th, by the way. So this Friday is Friday the 13th. But it's actually really good. It's really beautiful. I am There's a few things that I'm liking about the Moon in Capricorn transit, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, specifically Friday. On Friday, the Moon opposes Jupiter in Cancer. We love the Moon Jupiter opposition because this is an aspect that indicates some kind of luck, some kind of opportunity, that indicates some kind of movement. That could also be people leaving for vacation or traveling, going to visit their family or something like this on Friday. Moon opposite Jupiter. This is like people leaving for vacation or people traveling. But or also people having to talk to a judge or having to go to court, Friday, March 13th. Moon opposite Jupiter. But this is a good day because of Jupiter's energy. Jupiter just went direct, right? And this is our first aspect that we have between the moon and Jupiter with Jupiter direct. The Jupiter went direct on the 10th, 3 days prior. So I'm excited. I think Friday is a lucky day. I think Friday the 13th, I think this Friday is going to be a lucky day. I think it's going to be a day of opportunity, of joy, of fun, of luck, things like this. All right. But on Thursday, the one thing I do want you guys to be mindful of is the moon goes into Capricorn around midday. The moon makes a square to Venus and a square to Saturn. Oh, spring break starts Friday. Oh yeah, Fridays. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That's fun. Oh yeah. So spring break starts Friday, so it makes sense that if a family wants to go on vacation for spring break, they'd be leaving like immediately, like Friday, Saturday, as the moon is up opposing Jupiter. So yeah, it's like family vacations, like kids going on family vacations for spring break or whatever. So yeah, but okay, so what I was talking about is on Thursday, March 12th, the moon squares Saturn, and the moon in Capricorn squares Saturn in Aries. This can be about a moment of conflict or crisis. Okay, this can be about a moment of hardship or difficulty, or this can be about emotional rejection, cancellation, of appointment getting canceled, an activity getting canceled, you showing up late to something. This can also be, you could just be feeling heavy that day, that morning, that morning, afternoon, Thursday, with the moon in Capricorn squaring Saturn. The moon going from Sag to Capricorn, it's a pretty significant change in energy. We typically feel that, because the moon in Sag is like tends to be very fun and very lighthearted, where the moon in Capricorn is like more of like a heavy or more of a tight energy, more of a heavy energy. So just be mindful of that. Okay. Moon in Capricorn. And then on Sunday, this brings us to Saturday night, Sunday, and then Monday. The moon's going through Aquarius. Okay. And the moon, this is what's the word? This is a balsamic moon. This is a balsamic moon. Yes, it is. So it's like the balsamic moon phase happens very, very fast. So the moon going through Aquarius is very, very fast because it's the last moon phase before we get to our new moon, which resets the lunar energy, which resets the clock with the sun and the moon and our new moon and full moon cycle, right? So the moon in Aquarius, Sunday, Monday, we're going to be seeing things around endings, closure, completion, heaviness, sixth house, 12th house energy. This can also be about rest. I'm thinking about people recovering from St. Patty's weekend, people being in bed, people getting sick, people feeling ill, stuff like that, depleted, energetically depleted. So just be mindful of this energy on Sunday and Monday. This may be, these may be days where you just need rest, where, there's like closure, or where you just want to be by yourself. Even though the moon's in Aquarius, it's a very social sign. It's a very fun, exciting sign, because it's the balsamic moon phase, right? Um, the energy is kind of like, kind of warps the energy a little bit of a typical Aquarius moon transit. Um, yes, it's the moon behind the sun. It's 12th house energy, right? When the moon is in the 12th house to the sun. So the sun's in Pisces, but the moon is in the 12th house to the sun. The moon's in Aquarius, which is the 12th sign to Pisces, right? We get 12th house energy, which is isolation, sickness, illness, letting shit go, our dream world being very active, needing to sleep more, wanting to take a nap. So just be mindful of that energy Sunday and Monday, especially. Okay, because it's going to be in the air. Perfect. And I think that's good. I know that there's more ish that I could have talked about for sure, but we did like a 45-minute tarot reading that earlier. So I think we're just gonna leave it there. Okay. I do have availability for the middle of this month and to the end of this month if you guys are interested in readings. I've been super busy with readings. I just gotta let y'all know, if you see I don't have an appointment available until like the 20th or the 30th of March or something on my calendar, what you're seeing is you're seeing, me be booked pretty much. That's what it is, right? So I just want you guys to be aware that, I'm kind of busy right now. So if you want to get on my calendar, you may have to book an appointment for the future, right? And that's fine. That's okay. It's been a long while. I haven't done same day appointments or even same week appointments for it's been a long time now. I usually stay about 2 to 3 weeks booked out. But there are cancellations. I'll tell you one thing, this Mercury retrograde, my like there's been a lot of people rescheduling or canceling. It's Mercury retrograde, so I get it. So with that being said, you could go on my appointment site and you can actually join my wait list. So if there's a cancellation or if someone reschedules, it'll send you a text message to let you know, hey, this appointment's available if you want to take it. So definitely get on my wait list. Especially if you're like a recurring client of mine or if you're someone that, you were like, oh, I want to get in a little bit earlier, get on my wait list, okay? Because you'll get first dibs to appointment times when there's a cancellation or when someone's rescheduling, okay? But I love you all so much. Take care of yourselves. Be gentle with yourselves. Be soft with yourselves right now. These are very trying times. So we need to really be extra compassionate with folks. A lot of people are dealing with mental health stuff right now. A lot of people are feeling very unsafe in general, like if for different reasons, right? Like we're feeling financially unsafe. We're feeling unsafe because of this war stuff that's happening. We're feeling unsafe politically. We're feeling unsafe spatially. Maybe we're living in an area where there's a lot of political drama or where you're liberal surrounded by conservative people or whatever, you're living in Trump country, whatever, right? So there's a lot of people right now that are not feeling safe. And when we don't feel safe, right, we feel afraid. A lack of safety is fear, right? The other side of that is fear. So we just need to be mindful of our fear right now. And we need to help curb our fear. We need to ask ourselves, is this fear and this anxiety that I'm feeling real? Okay. And what can I do with this energy, right? Instead of giving into it and like perpetuating it and making it even worse for yourself or for others, how can I clear out this fear, overcome it, right? Or just look at it to disempower it, right? That's very important because, yeah, there's a lot of like people are just not feeling safe right now. There's a lack of security and stability and safety in the air. And so we need to be very aware of this as a people, and we need to kind of those of us that are a little bit more grounded, or that can make sense of the situation. We need to really do our best to show up and help and support others right now, through these trying times. Okay, so just want to leave y'all with that little thought, that little last little thought. But I love you all so much. I'm gonna go ahead and post this. And I will see you guys this weekend for sure. We're gonna go over the new moon in Pisces. Okay. So I'll see you guys. I'll let you guys know which day we're gonna do it on. I'm kind of feeling Saturday because the moon's in Capricorn, going over my moon that day. So let's do it on Saturday. We're gonna do it like Saturday morning, like maybe in like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. I'll let you guys know. Okay. Love you all so much. Mwah. It's such a blessing to be able to share this time with you all. It's such, a blessing to have the magic of tarot and have the magic of astrology and the stars to be able to guide us. We're so blessed. I'm so thankful to have the guidance of spirit and the divine. You know what I mean? Like I feel for those that don't have that relationship with spirit and the divine, or that they don't have that awareness or haven't cultivated that connection, because it's kind of like I feel like they're walking blindly, which is fine too, which is fine as well, right? We don't need these things, right? But it's just nice to have the assistance of spirit and to be able to connect to the stars, to be able to connect to, the divine with these tools, with tarot, with astrology, with, oracle cards, with whatever you use, the I Ching, right? All the different divination systems. And you can even pick up some rocks and throw them and they'll tell you something. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to try that hard to divinate. Sometimes you just flip a coin. Sometimes the art of divination is literally about flipping a coin and asking your spirit team and just, is it a yes or no? You flip the coin and whatever it tells you, you go with. You know? I do that sometimes, by the way. Um, I have a coin that my grandma gave me that I use for divination. So sometimes I have Mars and Libra, so I have a hard time making choices sometimes. So sometimes when I just like want spirit to like help me make a choice, I'll flip a coin. That simple, that easy, you know? So, all right, my loves, go flip a coin, go do some prayer, go have fun. Think joy and fun is like very important right now, you know, especially when we're going through times of difficulty, times of crisis, you know. Laugh, smile, play. The moon's in Sag. Go to Vegas. I'll see you guys, okay? Love you. All right, bye.